Vitalik Buterin also told that Flatcoins are very good and have a very promising future. So if a party is able to, if an attack is able to manipulate your cost of living index data and everything, then the whole value of the Flatcoin will just go down.
Since the pandemic, there has been more money printed by governments than ever before. So it's an insane amount of inflation that is still coming in next. Hello everybody, welcome to the Web3 Business Show brought to you by Tokenized. My name is Rob, and as usual we're providing you educational, inspirational content for and by industry experts in the Web3 space. Today I have my guest here, Edgar, our Web3 developer. Welcome.
Hi everyone.
And Hamang, welcome as well, our blockchain specialist.
Hi everyone, thanks for having me here.
So guys, today we're gonna dive in a little bit about the topic of not just stablecoins, but specifically Flatcoins, right? Which are a specific type of stablecoin that is promised to fight inflation. Hamang, what can you tell us about this category of stablecoins?
Yeah, definitely. So Flatcoins are really an interesting part of the blockchain and especially the crypto community. So basically, it is an advanced feature of a Flatcoin. It is based on the top of a stablecoin, but it's not exactly function how stablecoin does. So in case of stablecoin, when we see how a stablecoin is functioning, they're actually pegged against an asset, and the value of the stablecoin increases or decreases according to that asset. So for example, if I want to create a stablecoin on the USDT, so there is a very popular stablecoin like USDT. Its value is pegged against the US dollar, so its value is increasing and decreasing according with that. But in case of Flatcoins, it is very interesting, and Flatcoin's value is not exactly pegged with an asset. It's actually pegged against the cost of living index. So in this way, when the value of a asset is increasing or decreasing, you can actually gain from the value which is lost. As in this case scenarios, it is pegged against the cost of living and not against an asset. So that's a brief overview about how a Flatcoin works. And yep.
Okay, thank you, Amon, for that. And what are the mechanisms, right? Because I think our audience can kind of understand, obviously, the concept of fighting inflation, compensating for inflation, but how does that actually work? So it's basically a two-part question from my side, right? So from one end is the practical mechanics, right? How do you then distribute any differences in value? How do you ensure actually the increase in value, from a mechanical standpoint, but also from a collateral standpoint, because usually a stable coin is collateralized, right, on a certain fixed asset, whether it's US dollar or it might be gold or whatever it is, or a combination of those. Whereas this kind of new flat coin is supposed to actually follow consumer prices, right? So those 2 points, do you have any insights on that, right? Whether it's the mechanical side, how is it then distributed to users, and number two, how is it actually in the back end in terms of the collateral or whatever index to follow to ensure the value increase of this token?
Yeah, definitely. So to answer this question, let's first start by explaining what is the main thing which Flatcoins does, and that is what the pegging against cost of living index. So cost of living index is, just to give a little bit of an idea what it is the living indexes of the place where you're living, or it's a database of which it can include anything like housing prices, it can include the groceries and all those stuff, and it can be used by many organizations. And when we are measuring the cost of living index, it is actually measured against a base which in most cases is used in New York, and the cost of living is 100. So when we are creating a smart contract which is pegging against this cost of living, what it is doing is it's using the oracles and it's using those index values from the certain cities, and it's using inside the smart contract. Now, exactly how the value and how distribution work is there are two processes involved in it. One is expansion and the other one is contraction. So what expansion and contraction means is that, for example, let's say value like let's say there's an inflation scenario in the ecosystem, and in this scenario, the price of the groceries of the cost of living index has increased by 5%. So what will happen is that the smart contract is gonna mint the tokens so that the supply is met. So let's say an example. Let's hypothetically create a Flatcoin which is TMC, token mined coin, and with one token mined coin you can buy a grocery worth of $100. But now there's a inflation scenario, and in this scenario the price to buy those groceries has increased to 105 US dollars. So what we'll do in the contract is that the smart contracts are gonna increase the circulatory supply of the token. So now I, as a holder who earlier had one TMC coin, will now receive 1.05 TMC coins. So basically what I'm doing is I'm devaluing my currency right now, and and in this way, the goods that I was able to buy with $1, I can buy with 1.055 again. So I don't have, so here I'm not losing my value which I earlier spent because of the inflation. And same is the scenario in the deflation as well. So let's say now the value has decreased to $97. So in this case, I'm gonna burn some tokens which are there in the circulatory supply to match the value. So here I'm increasing the value. So this is how
like an algorithmic stablecoin, right? In that sense. So it just
exactly
dynamically adjusts basically the circulating supply. But we have seen it before in crypto, right? I mean, there's some terrible, like Terra Luna was one of them, right? USD. I think there's other algorithmic stablecoins that are basically non-collateralized, right? That's what they're doing. But how are they going to make this work exactly then? Because how are they going to avoid situations like with USD was the case?
So like what happened with the Terra was that they claimed to be a stable coin. So when the value was increasing and decreasing, it was not really going with the claim that they have done. So and also everything was non-collateralized. But here in the Flatcoin cases, the collateralized backing is one of the also important steps. And when they are using the collateral backing, they have a treasury. So in those treasury, it's divided into two parts, which is of a 20% buffer system, and the 80% they're gonna invest in the high yield bearing assets. So in this case, when they have to overflow or underflow their assets, they are basically maintaining the flows in the treasury, and they're not losing any value throughout the stablecoin ecosystem. So that's how they're working with them.
So it is a collateralized stablecoin, but what they're doing is they're using basically index data of inflation that's out there. And by the way, for the listeners out there, the blockchain infrastructure is a great solution. I think there's a really good project out there based on Chainlink in the Chainlink ecosystem called Realflation, I think. Something like that. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong. But they actually are providing the real inflation data on the blockchain for projects to use, like this kind of Flatcoins, instead of the government data, which is not always as accurate for people's real life. So just to summarize, Hamang, what you're saying, right? So those are collateralized. They're using the deposits of users, whether it's Bitcoin or Ethereum or maybe a fiat coin. They're investing it in a way that correlates to kind of inflation fighting, right? So maybe they even follow the debt cycles, right, based on the inflation data. So it's kind of almost like, in a way, a little like a hedge fund behind it. So in a way, it's kind of an RWA setup, right, where It's basically a system on a blockchain which allows you to easily access, anti-inflation kind of, mechanisms. Instead of buying USDT, you buy this kind of a coin. I think Nuon is one of them that is in beta right now. And they would just make the good investments decisions in order to kind of back up this kind of inflation or deflation data. And by the way, most likely it's inflation data, unless there's some very specific cases, right? Is that kind of how it works?
Yep, exactly. So that's how exactly it works. So like as you also said, that first it's using Prooflation's CPI. So that's also very true. Like they're using Prooflation's in the core to understand the cost of living index and everything. And then we can also categorize them into the RWA because what they're doing is actually the asset tokenization. And the use cases, well, the most of them are going to be globally accepted is in the term when it's going to have inflation. So yeah, all these three things are absolutely right on the track.
That's the beauty of blockchain, right? Before we go into your questions, Ed, in a second, because all those things are coming together, right? You're mentioning Trueflation, which is in providing this information on chain about the inflation. Then there's infrastructure available for proof of funds, different providers, which you can show as, like in this case, like your hedge funds data on the blockchain as well, so users know what they're buying into, that it's properly collateralized. And then obviously you have the huge advantage of using the blockchain for all of these transactions. You don't need a bank account. You can send it to anybody you want, and it's in a second without a huge fee. So quite interesting. Thank you for that, Among. Let's go into your questions, Ed.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Hemang, for that information about Flatcoin, and we sure know the advantages and uniqueness of Flatcoins, as you mentioned. So, but um, how are Flatcoins better than our normal stable coins, and yeah, why?
Yeah, sure. So to answer these questions, I'm gonna list the both sides of the terms, like it's the two faces of the coins. And let's start first with the advantages of how it is better than a stablecoin. So the first advantage that I can think about is like it's preserving your purchasing power. So basically, what it is doing, like since it is adjusting with the inflation, so it is able to preserve whatever we were buying with the currency that you had earlier, and you can buy with the same currency like in the future. So if you see, the USDT has fallen for 25% like in the last 2 3 years, and your value is like devaluing. So basically, with using flat coins, you are maintaining your purchasing power with still, and the other advantage it is having is just aligned with the first one, and that is the global acceptance. Because if you see in the Caribbean countries and in the African countries and even in the Asia, in India, there is lots of inflation. So in the inflation bounded countries, uh, its global application can do tremendous work, because if we are holding money right now and we are not depositing into recurring deposits or fixed deposits, and we just simply decide to invest them into the flat coins, then we don't really need to worry about getting yield, because our value is asset, because it is getting adjusted to inflation every now and then. And the third point is also aligned with the first and second point, that since the value is not going down, it is having long-term stability, which is not there exactly in terms of stable coins. Like their name is stablecoin, but the value there is decreasing. So in terms of value, we are achieving long-term stability there. But along with that, it comes in the disadvantages of flat coins. And the first and the important disadvantage is the complexity. That the Vitalik Buterin also told that flat coins are very good and have a very promising future, but it can be really really complex to develop these kind of flat coins. But yes, as we just saw, and as Rob also mentioned, that no one is one of the flat coins that is rolling out in the market. and with its version 2, we can already see some good advancements into the market. So I think so this point is going to be solved in the coming future. And the other point is that index reliability. So you have to be really, really reliable on which kind of index you are using for Flatcoins, but that part is also getting solved using Prooflations, CPI, and also the APYs as well. And the third point is that it is have a risk of prevention or manipulation, because if there is an attack that can manipulate your cost of living index, then it really have a very drastic effect on your whole flat coin. So if a party is able to, if an attack is able to manipulate your cost of living index data and everything, then the whole value of the flat coin will just go down. So, like as you see, the three disadvantages that I've mentioned are not really disadvantages, but they are technological, like advancements that has not taken place yet. But I think so in the coming future, with the community building up around it, these all disadvantages are going to be solved eventually.
Excellent.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Hemang. So my other question is, the Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong mentioned that coins are the future of stable coins. So what is your opinion about this?
Uh, yeah, definitely. So I'm also very positive on this part that the flat coins are going to be the future of stable coins. But for also future outlook, we need to see that they're going to have a niche adoption. So not everyone who is investing in the stable coin are exactly gonna invest in the flat coins, because flat coins are really hard to understand as of now. So for that purposes, it's gonna take some time for the community to build up and to have some confidence in investing in flat coins. But there's a long step ahead, so that the people are gonna step in and gonna invest their money on the flat coins. But as some of the crypto investors who are early in the market and have a good technological depth, they're going to invest into the flat coins the moment they can have an idea of it. And then there are going to be definitely some regulatory challenges across some different boundaries in the world that they might, like the countries have to deal with the regulatory challenges, and the organizations have to make their way through it. And one of the most important future outlook that I can think about is that hybrid model, a model in which have a both capability of a stable coin and a flat coin. So, like if we see in one, it is also kind of the same, but I think so. With the time being, there can be more future advancement, that there will be more hybrid models to which is going to have a good property of both the stable coin and the flat coins.
Yeah, I think that's excellent information, Among. I think important to realize here, right? Like, I think why Brian Armstrong says that as well is because stable coins are not actually stable, right? It depends. Yeah, one USDT is one USD. Obviously, for that trading pair, is obviously stable. But when you compare to any other trading pair, including other fiat currencies, right, like the euro, the yen, but let alone Bitcoin or gold, it's not stable at all from that perspective, because in the end of the day, fiat is not collateralized. It is those are floating currencies, right? Depending on the supply and demand. And obviously, there's some backing of the actual economy, because supply and demand are determined by, kind of the trading balances of different or surpluses or of different countries, right? So there's different things that can affect it, of course, but it's not directly collateralized. So I think people are definitely going to realize that, and especially now, since let's say since the pandemic, there has been more money printed by governments than ever before. So it's an insane amount of inflation that is still coming in the next year. So people are definitely going to wake up to that. And the beauty, I think, is that blockchain, or more general technology, is trying to innovate its way out of this, right? So I think Bitcoin was a great innovation started by Satoshi Nakamoto because of the banking collapse, because back in 2008 and 9, people lost trust in the banks, and there needed to be a solution for this, which was technology. right? That was Bitcoin. And now there's gonna be a looming kind of problem with inflation. People realizing that even in, for example, if you look at the Trueflation data they publish, go to Trueflation, I believe .com, or just Google it. They have actual data published on their website as well, and they according to their calculations, there has been 40% of inflation, real inflation, in the last 3 years, but in the UK. So that means that when you had £100, that's only worth £60 3 years later. That is insane, right? So, and that's the reality of it, and that's what I think people are doing, projects are doing, blockchain and technology in general. Hopefully, will provide solutions for the people around the world to these problems. So, thanks Ed, thanks Among, appreciate it for the information. Thanks everybody for listening, watching, and see you next time. Goodbye.